Hey everybody, it's TRAKing Pat. In today's video, we're going to discuss how the RMX works with DXF programming. If you've seen DXF in the past, then you would know that you can bring in a electronic print file and then manipulate it to get your toolpaths in order to make the part on the RMX. And it's a little bit different than the SX version and the KX version, but I'm going to show you the differences and walk you through it. So if it's the first time you've ever seen it, it'll make sense, as well as if you're somebody who's been using it for a while in the past. So first of all, I'm at the home screen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the program in and out mode, and I'm going to open a drive that has my DXF files in here, and I'm just going to open up one of these to give you an idea. So I'm going to open up this one that's called Sample 6. And unlike the older versions where it automatically showed up on the screen, what happens now is that I'm going to go to the program mode, and you'll see that now in here it's got my sample 6 up here at the top, and it looks more like I'm in the regular program mode because I am. So when I go to the beginning here, before I get started, I want to explain a couple things. First of all, if I'm doing this on a touch screen laptop, or if I'm doing it on my RX control, I'm going to have the ability to select all the things you're seeing me select today with the mouse just by using your fingertips. But for this demonstration, it's on a TV, so therefore you're going to see the mouse instead. So here I am on the first page, and I see the entire print file with the schedule, the border, all the dimensions, and the geometry. And on the right hand side, you'll see there's buttons where I can turn on and off whichever parts I do or don't want. So I'm going to get rid of the part 0. I'm going to get rid of the dimensions, and I'm going to get rid of the border. And that leaves me with the geometry that I want to cut. Okay, once I'm here, I'm just going to push continue. And then at this point, it's going to ask me whether I want to close any gaps that are 5/1000ths of an inch or less. So I can adjust this number if I need to, but generally speaking, I would leave it at 5 and then move forward. So when I go to that answer here, it's showing me now some of my options. So first of all, one of the things that's different in the new DXF compared to the old is that I can align the part to the x-axis. So for instance, if this line had to be square to the x-axis, I would select Align to x-axis and then click this twice. And you'll see that it turned the part so that it fits with the x-axis, okay? I also have the ability to rotate, which we used to have in our lathe DXF, but we didn't have in the mill, so we do have that now also, okay? And then besides that, one of the nice things that we did is we added hide the prompt, because the prompt used to get in the way sometimes of the selections you were trying to make. This allows you to get rid of that, turn it on, turn it off as you need it, okay? When I push continue, now it's asking me about my part 0, where I want to set that. So I have the ability, just like it says in the schedule here, to use the closest point of a line, or the intersection of a line and an arc, or the center of any circle. I'm going to use center of a circle and click on the circle here. And now you'll see my 0 reference, and you also notice as I move my mouse that the X and Y knows where it is at all times. We also have a new feature in here called Offset 0. So it might be that you've got a block that's a certain size, and you want to set up all your geometry, but then you want to tell it that that 0 is going to be in a different position. So if I select this, then I can put in here where I want that 0 to actually be, and it'll move the 0 out to a point that I describe from where the actual center of the part is. For today's demonstration, I don't really need that, so I'm going to skip it, but I want you to know it's there. And then here I'm going to hit continue. So in here on the next screen, it's allowing me to manipulate my drawing a little bit. So just like in a CAD system, I have the ability to add some lines and hide some lines and things like that. So let me explain how they work. If I go to new point, it allows me to click on any closest intersection and drag out a line in order to give me a point where I can start off the part and machine into the material. The same thing would be true if I wanted to have that point maybe go off the opposite direction, so that when I come around the part, I don't leave a tool mark, okay? There's also a feature in here they call Add a Line, and what Add a Line does is it puts a line between any two given points. So for instance, if I wanted for some reason to have a line here between the end of that part that I just made and the one that I made before it, you'll see that it draws a line and connects the dots. So it might be somewhere on my geometry I know my tool's not going to fit inside of. I might want to cut the corner and give myself the ability to rough it out with a different tool and maybe come back and pick that information up later, okay? There's also a feature in here called Hide Geometry. And when I go to Hide Geometry, if I take that last line I just made and click it twice, it'll go away. So that's what that's for. I can break up the geometry if I got a solid part of geometry and I need to just use a specific part of it. And then I can inquire in geometries, which means like if I click on this circle here, it's going to tell me all the information about the circle, where it is in X and Y, and what the radius of the circle is, and so on. It'll do the same thing for a straight line or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to push continue, and now I'm at the beginning part. And the first thing that I want to explain here is, first of all, if you look up at the top, you have DXF mode, but you also have program mode. So this is one of the big features that's different, because it used to be that when you were in DXF, once you left, you had to start over if you needed to get something else out of that file. Now I can switch back and forth between the DXF mode and the program mode, so that if there's something that I want to do that isn't in these events down here, I can just switch over to program, do that part like I normally would in the ProtoTRAK, and then go back to the DXF and grab more information for the rest of the program, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start out by programming this part and show you a little bit of how it works. So I'm going to come into here where it says drill and tap, right? And I'm going to select on the holes that I want to drill. So I'm just going to select these holes here, like so. And again, normally I'd be doing this just with the tip of my finger, but because I'm in here, I got to use the mouse, all right? Once I select the geometry I want, I come up to the top and select event, and it asks me to fill in the information of what I don't know. So you see I have the drop-down menu here, whether I'm drilling, boring, or tapping, okay? And it has the X and Y locations already in there, so I'm going to fill in the things that it doesn't know yet. So I'm going to put in my rapid, I'm going to put in my depth, okay, and how many pecks I want to have, RPM, and feed rate, and tool number. Once I finish that, you'll notice that they turn green. However, because of the touch screen, as I flip through the pages, you'll see that it highlights a different one of these holes right in the order that I did them. When I select event again, it takes me back into the DXF mode and gives me the ability to change what I want. So for instance, if I wanted to do something that was outside of these boundaries here, I could just select mode screen right now, right? And then I could add anything else at the end of this program. But one of the other nice benefits to this is I can go to my tool table now. And I can go in here and explain what that tool that I just set is, right? So I can come in here and say this is a drill bit, and I can tell it that it's made out of high speed, right? It's got 2 flutes, and then I would touch off my tools, of course, normally in here I'm just going to set them for now at 0, and I would do them later. Of course, it's going to give me that error because I didn't set this properly. There we go. So I set up my tools like so, and then hit the library, go back to DXF, and here I am ready to do the next thing. So if I wanted to cut a circular pocket, something like that, then I would come back into here, go to pocket, say yes or no, depending on whether this is the pocket or this is. In this case, it's just a circle. Go back to my event and fill in my information again, okay? I have my drop-down menus, whether I want to climb mill or conventionally mill, or I can use 1, 2, the same way I would in an older version of the ProtoTRAKs. Number of passes I want to have, finish cut I want to leave, and then my RPMs. If I want to use the same one that I had before, it will remember that. If it hasn't been filled in yet, it'll leave it blank. Whoops, made a mistake there. Right, my feed rates and tool numbers. Now notice that I also have the ability to have different tools for finish than I have for roughing, but in this case I'm just going to leave them both at tool number 2. And if I want to do something like cut a profile, then I would select profile, tell it yes I want a chain, and I'm going to start with this very first piece that I created earlier, and then tell it which way to go around the part. Now if I've got gaps that are over 5/1000ths of an inch, it's going to tell me that it's over 5 and ask me if I want to connect it anyway. I'm going to say yes, and that's going to collect the rest of the program together. And then when I go to my event, again, I'm just going to fill in the things it doesn't know, which is basically feed speeds and Z depths, right? From the direction that I picked the geometry, that's telling me that I'm already going around the part in a clockwise direction. Therefore, my tool would want to be on the left so that I cut the outside of the part. Okay, however many passes I want to have, finished cuts I want to have, and then I can use pretty much the same feed rates for what I'm doing right here. We're going to call it tool number 3 though. Okay, once I'm finished with grabbing information from the DXF mode, then I'm simply done here. If I go to the program mode, I can fill in the rest of my tooling and such, but I'm actually completed right here. So I can go now to my setup mode and I can start setting up the normal things I would, like my reference position and checking my tool path and so on and so forth. But for the most part, you've already seen how the DXF differs and what makes it work differently than the other one. And I think you'll see in some of the videos up and coming that as we add some of our other functions such as Parasolid and things like that, we'll also do a demonstration on that. But this should get you started. And again, don't forget to talk to your representative and have them give you a full, thorough demonstration on how DXF works. But just remember, the only difference between what you're seeing here and what you'll see live is that the touchscreen will allow you to use a finger instead of a mouse for everything else that you do. I hope this has been beneficial. I'm TRAKing Pat, and we'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks for watching.